Hey guys, so it's been a while since I've made a video. I've been doing stuff, of course, in school, pursuing, or at least on the path to earning a doctorate degree in theoretical astrophysics, which won't be until a few years from now, but I'm in the process, or some people say process and some people say process. I'm so used to saying process because I've been around Canadians, but I'm in the process of getting a doctorate degree in the next couple of years. So that's one of the reasons why I haven't been able to keep up, along with 50 other reasons why I haven't been able to do any broadcasts lately. I've been getting my life together and get my finances straight and so many other things. But I've also been noticing that pseudoscience is on the rise. There, right now, currently, probably are more people who have pseudoscientific beliefs than people who actually have correct scientific knowledge. Altogether scary and frightening because we are in Trump world where the president of the United States doesn't accept climate change and the vice president of the United States doesn't accept evolution and very well may be a young earth creationist who thinks that the universe is 6,000 years old. Not mad at him, not going to poke fun at him because I'm an ex younger creationist myself, but it's scary that there are so many Christians who hold to pseudoscientific beliefs. When a Christian tells somebody about Jesus, it actually would be rational for a non-believer to say, no, I don't want anything to do with your Jesus because everything you believe about the universe is false. So why wouldn't also be false? Because what you believe about reality is completely crazy. So why wouldn't this idea of Jesus, the God man, the Messiah, why wouldn't he not comport with reality also? Because all of your beliefs that you also have don't comport with reality. And so it's really important that as Christians, we hold to proper special theology, but we also have correct belief when it comes to natural theology. And so we got a whole lot of Christians going around thinking that the earth is flat because, yes, the Bible is a flat earth book. Um, don't know if you know or not, but the Bible is about 3,000 years old. And just like things in the world around us today change quickly within 100 years. So in about 100 years from now, things will be totally different. I mean, the world has changed in only about a good 20 years since 1995, about 22 years. Um, the world has changed significantly since I was born because I was born in 1995. And now we have smartphones and touchscreen computers, and you go in elevators and you got to punch in a key card or a key code, and there's so many things that have just changed since 20 something years ago. And so, how much more have things changed within the last 2,000 to 3,000 years? And so, when we look at an ancient text like the Bible, we should understand that Moses and James, well, James wrote the New Testament, but the people who wrote the Bible, they didn't have the scientific knowledge we know today. I asked somebody who actually is in my class. They're a young earth creationist. Found out I have a young earth creationist in my class. And I asked them, do you think Moses knew about theoretical astrophysics or thermonuclear fusion or general relativity or gravitational lensing or gravitational time dilation or Big Bang nucleosynthesis or supernovas or the Oort cloud? Do you think Moses had an in-depth knowledge on theoretical astrophysics? Because he didn't. Of course, Moses and the other 40-something authors of the Genesis account, they didn't know about this stuff. And frankly, it didn't matter to them because in the mind of an ancient Near Eastern, they weren't as concerned about the science of the universe as us 21st century moderns are today. And so when you look at an ancient text like the Bible, you have to try and look at it through fresh eyes. The proper way to look at an ancient text is to see how the authors would have looked at the text, and also you want to understand the culture of the day. So yes, the people who wrote the Bible, they definitely did believe in a flat earth. They definitely did believe that there was a dome in the sky over top of our heads, and inside of this dome or the firmament was the sun, moon, and stars. They definitely did believe that. Just because they believed it doesn't mean it is true. And I don't have a problem with the biblical authors believing that, because the point of the Bible is, in the words of Aristotle, is the Bible shows you how to get to heaven, not how the heavens go. The Bible is not a science book, and it is very, very disheartening for a lot of Christians today to come to it like it's a science book, in the same way that Calvinists, when they come to the Bible, they are reading their Calvinism into the historical text, where they make Jesus say things that he didn't mean, and they make Jesus say things that he actually never even said. And quite frankly, um, in any modern interpretation of the Bible, where you have to eisegete into the text, read into the text, you're taking away from the historical context of the Bible. And I would even say in some points and cases, you could be committing blasphemy, Calvinists. With that being said, um, another key point I want to make is these flat earthers who are going around, saying that the earth is flat and space doesn't exist and etc. If they want to be consistent, they also ought to accept the ancient Near Eastern biology that the ancient Near Eastern people had. Like, they thought the heart was in the stomach, and they had different um, ways of curing diseases. Like, they would cut you and let you bleed out, because they thought if you bled out, you somehow, some way, will not be sick anymore. They had all types of weird medical practices, like cutting somebody's head open, because if somebody had a sickness, they thought that there was a spirit inside of their head, and so they would cut their skull off. So if these flat earthers want to be consistent, not only do they have to accept the cosmology of the ancient Near Easterners, but they also should accept the biology and the medical practices these people used to do as well. And I just want to say, when you come to the Bible, you shouldn't be embarrassed that it has this ancient science in it, because, of course, it's an ancient book. God used people who were scientifically ignorant. Just like God can use somebody who doesn't know anything about science today, because the point of the Bible was not to give people accurate science. The point of the Bible was to convey the theological message that there's a God, there's only one God, and this God passed through space and time and revealed himself to humans in the person of Jesus Christ, living 33 years, dying on the cross, being buried for 3 days, and rising from the dead. That is the point of the Bible. The point of the Bible is that there is one God, and he has revealed himself to mankind throughout the ages. That is it. The Bible doesn't touch on theoretical astrophysics or plate tectonics or thermonuclear fusion. Sure, if you want to say that in the Genesis account, you can read those things into the text with our scientific knowledge today. Of course you can. And I have a model explaining that. Dr. Hugh Ross of Reasons to Believe has a model explaining that. Carol Hill from ASA, the ASA Foundation, she has a model explaining that. But if you want to be a credible scholar, you do have to actually admit that if you don't eisegete anything into the text, and you exegete only, and you read the text for what is in the historical and cultural context it was written in, there isn't any new scientific information in the Bible. There is no new scientific revelations in the Bible, because that's not what it's for. The Bible is a theological revelation to mankind, a special revelation to mankind. And we have reality, the natural world, natural theology, that conveys to us truths about reality that are not in the Bible. So those are my thoughts on people believing in the earth being flat and that ancient Near Eastern cosmology is still valid. And also, you know what? Before I even end this, I hear younger creationists actually badmouthing flat earthers, but younger creationists and even intelligent designers, you guys are just as bad as the flat earthers because you guys also deny branches of science as well. And so it's really weird for a younger creationist, right, to talk badly about a flat earther because you have weird scientific beliefs as well. And so I just got done watching a Jeff Durbin video from Apologia Radio. Um, and they're talking about how, these flat earthers are crazy and da 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 da. And the guy who they had interviewing on the show, I think he was a doctor, and he says, well, it's different than the creation evolution debate, even though the creation evolution debate does have something to do with it, where they say, well, if evolution isn't true, then this also must be true because the Bible teaches the earth is flat and da 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 da, and you keep going back, which in my mind, I think all of these discussions and debates and everything, I think it's so unnecessary because, of course, like I said, the Bible isn't a science book, but the younger creationists are talking bad about the flat earthers, and their beliefs are just as crazy. Their biblical scholarship is just as terrible, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. How the ideas are making fun of the flat earthers and all these things, and all of their beliefs are just as crazy. Even Yoda creationists, they believe that God specially created each species the way they are from the literal physical dirt, silicone that we have today on the planet. So God just took some dirt and just formed, these animals and these species out of mud. That's as crazy as the Quran making a statement that the sun comes out of a muddy pond of water. Just as crazy. I think also too, Christians accept these ideas because when it comes to secular science, in their minds, they think that all the secular science was done by atheists, and atheists made these also great achievements, and atheists gave us the sciences that we have today. Like some Christians, like younger creationists, think that atheists gave us Big Bang cosmology. And then there are Christians who think that modern taxonomy, evolutionary theory, and etc., everything in biology came from atheists. Not true. As a matter of fact, the father of the scientific method, Francis Bacon, was an Anglican. The father of modern taxonomy, which was Carlos Linnaeus, was a creationist. On the cover of his Linnaeus, of his book, where he would classify species, it actually had written, God creates, but Linnaeus arranges. And this was on the cover of the textbook of Linnaeus. Carlos Linnaeus, father of modern taxonomy, believed in God. The father of Big Bang cosmology, George Lemaitre, Catholic priest. Charles Darwin was an agnostic. Prior to him being agnostic, he was a Christian. After Darwin discovered the theory of evolution, he wrote a paper to one of his colleagues, Asa Gray, who was a Christian, who asked him, well, now that evolution is true, does that mean there's no God? And Darwin, in his letter, wrote, I don't see why someone can't be an ardent theist and an evolutionist. Then he goes on to say that he has never been an atheist, but he is an agnostic, and some of the brightest minds of our time have answered the question of whether or not there is a God. And also, the director of the Human Genome Project, which gave us the beautiful fruits of human chromosome 2, giving the great evidence that humans are descendant from a common ancestor. The director of the Human Genome Project was an evangelical Christian, Dr. Francis Collins, who actually is the founder of BioLogos. So there you go. There you have it. Most of the scientific fathers were creationists, Christians, and had no problem with the existence of God whatsoever. I don't understand why Christians are so hostile to modern science when it was the fruits of Christian theology that brought us modern science that we have today. Isaac Newton said, when we do science, we are thinking God's thoughts after him. And so these scientists, their belief in God didn't hinder their science. It actually was the reason why they got up every morning and they actually did do science, because when they were doing their scientific experiments on the natural world, they were actually, in a sense, worshiping God, and they knew that their science was reliable because the universe is the result of an intelligence, and that the universe itself is intelligible. Psalm 19, the heavens declare the glory of God. Day after day, they speak without saying a word. The universe, in a sense, is what you could say sentient. The universe can communicate to us, but not with words, but with numbers. Mathematics is the language of the universe. And so there is no problem between science and faith. Science and faith can work together as much as you allow them to. And we have to understand, Christians, we have to understand you cannot get your science from the Bible, because the Bible is not a science book. However, from our modern scientific knowledge that we have now, if somebody wants to read our modern science into the text so they can revise certain theological interpretations, sure, that's okay. But you have to also be reminded that you have to make your interpretation fit with not only modern science, but also the ancient theology of the Israelites. And so I would recommend my own model, which you can actually see my model at www.facebook.com/religion of reason. Hugh Ross has a pretty good model too, although he doesn't accept evolution. And Carol Hill has an interesting model as well. We would agree on everything about the days of creation. Not the flood, though. Carol Hill thinks the flood happened some 4,000, 6,000 years ago. I would say that the Mohican flood happened around 45,000 years ago. So you can go and you can check on that yourself. But these are my thoughts on the flat earth and intelligent design conspiracy theories. And yes, they are conspiracies. And if you're listening or watching, I don't want you to fall victim to these pseudoscientific beliefs. And so some really good resources you can actually check out is Hugh Ross's ministry, www.reasons.org. His astrophysics is amazing. As far as his biology, I would disagree with that wholeheartedly. But BioLogos, www.biologos.org, amazing ministry. I would agree with everything they teach so far. I think they're going into the multiverse theory, and I think they might hold on to that. They're starting to accept it, which I don't see the evidence for that. So I guess that's one thing I disagree with in their model. And you can also go to Dr. Michael Heiser's website, which he doesn't necessarily deal with the science. He deals with the text, ancient texts, and theology. His website is www.drmsh.com, which stands for it stands for Dr. Michael Heiser. So those are some little nuggets of information and wisdom. And until next time, good luck. and good night.